now it's on to nerding out, and I shall go first because I shall also go last because I cheated and I have two nerding outs. I'm nerding out on two things. And the first one is I'm actually going to stick with the BBC theme, and it is James May's The Reassembler. This airs over on the BBC on channel or on BBC 4, and it's James May putting together stuff. Like the first episode was him putting together a 1954 or 58, sorry, lawnmower. Like they have it like all the pieces laid out on this giant white table, and he is just putting it together. And if it sounds boring, it is, but it isn't at the same time, because where you're watching a dude just put together something, and the second episode is him putting together a old telephone. And it's also interesting because you see it's one of these shows where you see how he loves these products, how he loves these things that he's putting together, and how we went from, and also some of the history, like because he had said something on it for the episode with the lawnmower that it could have come across as sexist, but to counter that, he said he actually played a commercial for it was about the excuse me, what a lot of people say about helicopters and comparing them to women, where you want to have them but then they're really finicky or something like along those lines. And he said, and if you think that's sexist, check out this commercial for a rotor style, one of the early rotor style lawnmowers, and play it. And sure enough, it's light enough that even a woman could use it. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Really? That's horrible, sort of deal. But it's this interesting show that it's one of those. It reminds me of, it reminds me that there was a time where you had the rotary dial phones, or you had things that were made out of cast iron, with stuff that we don't have now. Like everything is aluminum or aluminium, as he pronounces it, and a lot of the British people pronounce it, and just plastic and just lightweight, reusable crap, as opposed to stuff that was made to last, sort of deal. So I love the show. I don't know. It's one of those I can't explain why, because it doesn't. On one hand, it doesn't sound interesting because of the fact that
it's interesting in the way of watching episodes of This Old House is interesting, or watching episodes of Bob Ross painting happy little trees is interesting. There's something magical about just seeing something get built or fixed or created out of nothing. That's why HGTV and the Cooking Channel and a lot of other stations came to be, is because there is something very just simple yet endearing about watching people make stuff, and I can completely understand. I think that's, if not every episode is going to be something that you're interested in seeing built, but if you're the first episode I think is about building a guitar or rebuilding a guitar.
He does build a guitar later.
That to me is like right off the bat, I would love to see a guitar being built, because I play guitar. I'm very interested in seeing how this object is made, and what things that I can pick up about it that maybe make me appreciate the thing that I'm holding a little bit more. And the next week could be the lawnmower thing or whatever, and maybe that's not as interesting to me, but it's still like part of it is how entertaining is he. But
he's entertaining himself.
So I completely understand why this was your pick.
Well, and also, I mean, it's interesting because when you think of a phone, like it's a rotary phone, it was a phone that was made in England. I can't think of the name of it, but he names he names the number of the parts that are in there. I'm like, wait a minute, there's like 200 and some odd parts in that phone. Holy cow. Same thing with the lawnmower. It was like 371 pieces to the lawnmower. And I'm like, holy cow. And a lot of it was in the internal combustion engine, but still, that's a lot of parts, man, sort of thing. And that's cool to see that that happens, that there is that love for old things. And we're not just, let's just go buy a new one. It broke. Oh, let's go get a new one. Sort of deal. Corey, your pick is an old TV show.
Yes, so old. Oh, the ancientness of it. It's from 2010.
Yeah, I thought it was older than that.
No,
Is it
2010.
just 2010?
2010. 6 years ago, though. I mean, that's the thing, is like 2010. Wow. We're at the end, the tail end of the 2000, not even the 2000 anymore. We're in the teens.
Oh gosh, that means we're going to be getting the VH1 I Love the 2010s coming soon.
Oh Lord, please, yes, I love those. I just need any reason to see some of those comedians who are never on anything else. So
Hal Sparks.
I like Hal Sparks. So in 2010, I was busily watching probably the earlier seasons of Justified. I was maybe at the close to tail end of The Shield. I was definitely in the audience for the FX network. And there was a show that was being advertised, and it has Donald Logue, and I'm a Donald Logue fan. Now, it doesn't hurt that my wife likes to think that I look like Donald Logue, although I don't, but we have some characteristics. She's not the only one who's made comparisons between me and him before. And so if I'm watching something with Donald Logue in it, she gets a little bit more affectionate towards me, which is not a bad way to live.
Which is the only reason you watched Gotham as long as you did.
No, it really isn't. Because that just makes you lose respect for everything, including yourself. So the show's coming out, and it's advertised, unfortunately, not very well. It's called Terriers, and the advertisements I remember distinctly were Donald Logue and the other lead, Michael Raymond James, sitting on a porch with a dog, and it gives you nothing to really go on as to what it's about. And that's too bad, because it undersold what is a very great show. And I've been wanting to get to this for quite a while. I've had it in my Netflix queue for a couple of years probably, and I'm surprised that it's not one of those ones that went away and then I was like, oh damn, I missed my chance. No, they're still there. It's the creator on it is Ted Griffin. Now, I don't know a lot of his stuff, but he did write an episode of The Shield, but he also wrote the screenplay for Ocean's 11, the remake version, so the one with Clooney and everybody. Got a very good sense of dialogue and a very good sense of character. Terriers is really the only TV show that I can see that he's worked on. But so what the show is, the premise is Donald Logue's character, Hank Dolworth, is an ex-cop. He lost his job on the force and lost his wife and his home and pretty much everything because he was a drunk. He was drinking on the job. He was coming home, passing out, missing things with his wife, and, had to get his life together. So he has gone through AA, he's in recovery. He is now a private detective. He is teamed up with this guy, Britt Pollock, and Britt Pollock is basically he's a thief. He would do breaking and enterings. He's a sort of con man kind of dude, and they have started a detective agency. Not even an agency. It's just like, you need some help, they'll help you out for money. But it's not like it's a hugely established business. They work in tandem with a lawyer that they know. She sometimes helps get some cases. They deal with Donald Logue's dealing with his ex-wife Gretchen as the series starts, where she's selling the home that they had together, and unbeknownst to him, she's getting married to somebody else. And he comes into some money during a case and decides to buy the house. Britt is with his girlfriend, Katie, and they're on the verge of moving up to the next stage of their relationship, like maybe getting married, maybe having kids. All of this is going on while the case is starting out, where someone that Hank knows from, being a drunk from his recovery meetings and stuff like that, comes to him and says that his daughter is in trouble and can he help him out? And they stumble into this case that is kind of the backdrop for the whole season. So the season's only 13 episodes. And what the case starts at in the first couple episodes builds up to something much bigger as it goes down the road. But it's not like every episode is about that. There's other cases they deal with. There's other storylines that happen. But it is kind of leading into where it starts to where it finishes. You do get a payoff for it towards the end. And that's what FX shows kind of are, is that they start you out with something and they give you little lead-offs and branches going across. But then it comes back together towards the end to give you a satisfying conclusion to it, or a build up to the next season. It's just really well done. And there was some kind of spectacular things in this. Rockman Dunbar is in this. He has been in a lot of other stuff. He plays Hank's old partner, who's still a cop, and is kind of like his in anytime they need to talk to somebody who's still a part of it, to get that police background. He's there for them. He's really fun because he's trying to quit smoking, so he's constantly chewing on what is you put a cigarette into a little like clip or something to breathe through it, like a filter almost, but it's just like an extension. And he's just chewing on that instead of actually smoking throughout the whole thing. You would know him from things like he was in the last couple seasons of The Mentalist. He was on Prison Break and is going to be on the new Prison Break series when it comes back. He was C-Note. He's done a lot of stuff in Sons of Anarchy and things. Just the caliber of people in this. There was also some surprises. Donald Logue's sister shows up in this and plays his sister on the show. And she's really good. She's just, I don't recognize her from much of anything else, but she just kind of like comes into the story, and she's got some mental issues. She has been in an institution for a long time. She gets explored a little bit and winds up having to go back to the institution, but she's just such a great addition to it. She's super smart. She's like a verified genius and was in like MIT, but then just kind of fell apart. But she's excellent in this. But the whole thing is really about the kind of the way the case is run with Hank and Britt, Michael Raymond's character. And it's just so well done. And the characters feel real. They never go just like super overboard. They're not cartoony at all. The way that like emotionally you connect to them, it feels solid the whole way through. Hank dealing with the stuff with his ex-wife and her soon-to-be husband, and how that kind of blows up in his face because he realizes that he's still in love with her, but he also realizes that he's really bad for her. The stuff with Britt and his girlfriend Katie, and how their relationship kind of actually hit some really rough patches in this. It's just such a great program, and it's one of those things that you kind of, you feel bad as you're watching it because you wind up loving it more and more as you go along, and you know that it's just going to end and that's going to be it. It's hard to have a show that you're finding 6 years past when it was on, and you missed the chance to see it get to come to a second season because there was nobody watching it at the time. It just went away. And they do at least give you an ending that I think is solid enough. It leaves things open, and I think that they knew that they weren't getting renewed at that point in time. So it leaves things open that if there was another season, or if there's not, it leaves you a question of, well, did it go this way or did it go this way? And it doesn't tell you. It doesn't spell it out for you, but it kind of lets you decide for yourself what way it would have been. And yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole and go to IMDb or whatever and try to find people and see if you can figure out, well, if they'd done a season 2, what would they have done? If these characters continued into other things, where would they be now? And that's the thing, is you want to do that. You want to know what happened to Britt and you want to know what happened to Hank and to the other characters in the show. And I just think that it's so good. And I've talked to a couple people here and there, as I said, that I was watching, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a really good show." Yeah, it gets really dark towards the end, and it does. It gets super dark. But it's just all around very good, and certainly at a level that I've enjoyed it about the same as I probably did the first season of Justified, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. But Justified got the chance to get even better in the next couple of seasons, and I just wish that the show could have too.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things that I like. I had heard of it, but it wasn't one of those like, oh, I'm gonna go watch it sort of things. So it's like one of those things like I hear people mention Terriers, and I'm like, I'll get to it when I can, sort of deal.
Yeah, I mean, at 13 episodes, I tried not to even like mainline it. We watched it over a few weeks, and I watched a couple episodes here and there. But again, it's one of those things. I wasn't trying specifically to watch it with Erin, but she was in the room a lot when I would put it on. Like I would throw on an episode or two before bed. That would be like my prime time for the week because nothing on TV is really grabbing my attention right now. I'm sitting on all the episodes of the second season of Mr. Robot at the moment, and it's not because I'm not excited about Mr. Robot, but I really kind of feel like I'm going to benefit from watching them all in a row, as opposed to having to wait it out like I did last season. But when I would watch this, when I was watching this, she was very encouraged by how good the show was, and she would say, "This is pretty good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And I feel bad that she wasn't there for every episode. She may have not paid full attention to it, whether that was the case or not. But it's just, I do judge things like I can get into something and know that it's not the greatest program in the world, but still enjoy it. But when she is also going, this is good, this is some good TV, then I know that there's something more there, because it's not often that the things that I like to watch and the things that she likes to watch meet up. And those shows that I think that can appeal to two different kinds of audiences and two different kinds of watchers at the same time, it just shows how much better that program is. And the things that we do, it's like, it's Game of Thrones. It was at a point in time, it was The Walking Dead, but I think we both got burned out about the same time. I might have been a little bit ahead of her on that, but she could just tell, like, for the few minutes here and there that she steps in, she's like, yeah, this is compelling. This is compelling TV, and the actors are really good. And it's a really solid show. So 13 episodes is not a lot of time to dedicate yourself to watch this, and wish that it had been able to stick around
to get more episodes. Yeah, exactly. And then my last nerding out, because again, I cheated and did too, is a comic by Jim Zub called Glitterbomb. Now you might recognize the name Jim Zub because he did Samurai Jack for IDW. He did starts with an F over at Marvel. I can't think of the name of the comic. It's a Disney. Oh, Figment. He did Figment over with Marvel. He did Wayward. He did Skull Kickers.
Skull Kickers is what I know Jim Zub from. Yeah. I mean, originally, and he does a lot of the D&D comics or the Pathfinder comics, I think, for IDW.
Yeah. And and Skull Kickers is probably the one that people know him from the most. And so
it was certainly like his breakout for me. That's what I was reading first.
No, yeah, exactly. And so this is his latest comic from Image Comics, and it is titled Glitterbomb. And this is about a actress who was in a sci-fi. I think she was in the sci-fi. She was in a TV show when she was younger, and had fame from that, and now is struggling to find work. And so the first issue just sort of hits on the ugliness of Hollywood, because she's a little bit older. Everyone's just sort of wanting something from her, that isn't quite in the industry yet. And it turns out though that here's a twist. She's got a demon inside her or something like that. You open the book, you come in with her talking with her agent, and then he's basically insulting her, and she does the movie one liner of, well, how about this? And then like aliens, like a scene from Aliens, her tongue comes out and goes through his head. I'm like, wait, what did I just come in here on? Sort of, and then they fill you in on the rest of it. And it's great. I cannot wait for this next issue to come out. It had me hooked. And the other part that I enjoy with this is the essay in the back in the letters page. It is, I cannot think of the author of it, but it is written by someone who was in the industry. I think sort of still is in the Hollywood industry, but she talked about her time working with a when I get to it here in a second, working with a production company. Holly Rochelle Hughes is her name, and she was working for a friend. She was in the industry, working on a TV show, and her friend was doing this film, and he needed a production coordinator, and he didn't want to hire a local like the production company wanted. So he got her to sell her house, put all her stuff in storage, and move out to Omaha, Nebraska for 3 months. And she talks about, and I don't know if he was an actor, but I want to say he was a producer. But this dude, and these she doesn't name names like, so and so, first and last name. She just gives George and Alexander are the two names that she gives, and basically how they treated her like shit. And I'm sitting there going, holy crap, because this is an industry that I at one point wanted to get into. I wanted to get not in front of the camera, but behind the scenes doing stuff. And and just seeing all this or reading all this stuff happen, I'm like, oh my gosh, my heart sank a little bit as I'm hearing about this, about the misogynistic ways of Hollywood, of some of these Hollywood producers. And it was not cool. It was not right. They wouldn't let her on set. When the director did let her, or when she did get on set, she was an extra. The director saw her and she's like, "You get out of here! I'm throwing a bitch fit." And the crew kept her mom in as an extra to sort of pay, like, help. Like, oh, hey, sorry this happened. Here, we're gonna do you this favor, sort of deal. But she says that she later left the industry, and it was one of her best choices to do. And I honestly respect the crap out of that. But the art in here is really cool. So here's an example of the art right there, and I cannot think right now of who the artist is that does it, but it's an up and comer. That's the cool part, is it's not, it's not someone that Jim Zub's worked with before. It's not someone who's really been working, in the comic book industry yet. It's just, young up and coming guy. And I'm like, dude, this dude's awesome. He needs to be working more. Marvel, DC, get on this sort of deal.
No, fuck Marvel and DC. Don't steal him away from a book. That's the problem. That happens a lot. And it's like, oh yeah, this person just came out and they're getting a lot of attention on this little small press book. We're going to steal them and we're going to shove them on some backup stories in a Civil War II shit storm somewhere. And then we'll turn them into a big name over here and fuck your little indie title.
No, yeah. It's his name is Djibril Morissette Fan. DJIBRIL Morissette -fan. So yeah, I butchered his first name and I apologize for that. But this is cool. I'm really enjoying this book. I think it's a really good read, and I think a lot of people will enjoy it as well. So yeah, that's my other nerding out.